Good evening, friends. I, Haimanti Bagchi from www.tellmeastory.biz, welcome you this evening for a discussion on the book Rukmini. I'm privileged to be in the company of author Saiswaroopa Iyer. Tellmeastory.biz calls for registration for the writing program season 6 in association with Rupa publications. To participate in this writing workshop, you must register by 15th of May. Let me begin with introducing the author Saiswaroopa Iyer. She's an alumnus of
Is it
IIT
me
Kharagpur.
or Haimanti has gone offline?
I think I'm there. Me? Am I visible, ma'am? All right, so till then, let me introduce her. She's an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur and an investment professional turned satisfied writer. Saiswarupa ma'am is a best-selling author of 4 novels, all based on legendary female protagonists from ancient Hindu literature. Her second novel, Avishi, based on Rigvedic hymn, has been acquired for the screen adaptation by a major studio. Rukmini is her recently released novel published by Rupa Publications. Saiswaroopa is passionate about ancient Indian history, philosophy, and literature. She holds a certificate in Puranas from Oxford School of Hindu Studies. As a trained classical singer, she has also been awarded a gold medal by Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanams. In her spare time, she likes to search for her next inspiration in books, pravachans, and historical temples. She lives in Bangalore with her husband and daughter. Welcome, ma'am. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Haimanti. And it's always a pleasure to come back to Tell Me Your Story platform. I find the interactions here refreshingly different from a lot of interactions that happen outside. So looking forward for it.
So, ma'am, let's start with my first question today. In your author's note in Rukmini, you have told a very interesting fact. Traditionally, unmarried girls are encouraged to read Rukmini Kalyanam. It is so empowering that young women are encouraged to read a story in which the avatar of goddess Lakshmi is seen making her own life choices and boldly eloping for the love of her life. On the contrary,
Yes.
we see so many young people facing honor killings in some parts of our society. Do you think that stories like this would bring any change to the years of regressive conditioning?
So, to answer that question, I would say, had we been in sync with the ancient values and ethos, uh, practices like honor killing should not have come into our system at all. So, how that came to be is always remains a mystery because if I say the first I won't even call it honor killing, but the kind of idea comes in the Mahabharata and not in a positive light. So sorry, we have to take a break from Rukmini and go to Draupadi Swayamvara here. So in
Okay.
Draupadi Swayamvar, what happens is Arjuna wins the Swayamvar, but nobody knows that he's Arjuna. Everybody thinks he's some poor Brahmin who begs on the streets and who's a so all the kings there get angry because they think it is a insult to their valor and kshatriya and all, and they are like how dare Drupada invite us for us Swayamvara that and he let some poor Brahmin win the whole thing, and it's a insult to the whole kshatriya world, and rather than marry him, we would rather see Draupadi thrown into fire. I exactly don't remember who says this, either Karna or Jarasandha or somebody like that. But That is that comes from a lot of the elitist standpoint. That some poor guy cannot win the contest where these big kings have lost. So the whole concept itself comes from a lot of concept of honor killing, right? It comes from that elitist mentality, which is not seen in a. I won't say it is not there. It was not there in ancient India, but whatever traces of it was there was not looked at as a virtue. It was always, seen in a negative light. So always the merit was given that, given that platform. So in Rukmini Kalyana, what the message from Rukmini Kalyana and that beautiful practice of unmarried girls encouraged to read is that, the decision can go either ways. Parents may end up searching for finding a boy who is a great match, and they may end up finding the wrong guy, or the daughter may like someone who is also a great match, or she may end up making an immature choice. From all the possibilities, Rukmini Kalyana has a message for both the girl and the family. So in I'm not referring to my novel here, but to the scripture, Bhagavatam scripture. Rukmini, in her letter, letter to Krishna, she mentions the reasons why she chose him. So that is the message to the girl as to, yes, you are entitled to your choice. It's your life. You should make that choice. But that decision should be based on certain, guiding principles as to how the guy should be. He should be, dedicated to a larger dharma, to a larger cause. And he should help you live to that, fullest potential. So all those, messages are there for the girl. And for her family, it is also a warning that don't use this institution of marriage for your selfish purposes. What was happening in Rukmini's case is basically, so the ideal marriage as the rishis would have wanted it from the Manusmriti itself is Brahma Vivaha, where Manu says the parents of both the boy and girl, decide upon a match, but it should happen completely with the girl's consent and the boy's consent, which means that actually requires the family and the bride and the family to be in complete harmony. It's not like she is totally subservient, and it's not like they are oppressing her. They should be in that harmony. In Draupadi's case, Draupadi and her father and her family were in total harmony. Even while deciding, they were in harmony. But in Rukmini's case, that harmony was missing. And her family, her brother especially, wanted to use her marriage as his stepping ladder, which is, which is wrong as per the Manusmriti itself.
Yeah.
Right? So what Rukmini did was actually a corrective measure. From the dharmic standpoint, she she actually made a choice, and she made a choice that was better than what her family decided for her. And so reading Rukmini Kalyanam is a double message for both the girl and the girl's family as to what kind of a son-in-law you should actually be looking at, because your daughter's future is going to be affected by it. It's her whole future life stands in a balance. So how you should actually get back to that harmonious condition so that everybody is happy at the end. So that is the actual reason behind Rukmini Kalyana being revised.
Okay. So the strong character of Rukmini, being multifaceted, uh, she's a warrior princess full of dedication and love for Krishna. Her intellect, her non-conformity to societal norms, and her fearlessness is so well described in your book. What was the most interesting part of her personality which inspired you to write this book?
Yeah, so Rukmini, she's a multifaceted character, as you specified. So what inspired me to write about her? See, what everybody knows about her is her bhakti, which is a very strong element of her character, her bhakti towards Krishna, especially in that episode of Parijata Paharana, where is after that there is a Tulabhara incident where Satyabhama tries to weigh Krishna uh, with her gold, uh, and she fails totally. All the gold in her in her possession cannot weigh, and she does not have any less gold. She's having that Syamantak money, which gives her some 70 grams or something like that per day of gold. So in her life she would have amassed so much of gold. So with that, she fails to weigh the equivalent of Krishna, whereas Rukmini comes and keeps just a tulasi leaf, tulasi clover, and that weighs Krishna equally. So that is again a message that you cannot the materialistic possessions don't come anywhere near to winning the god on your side. But with that story is very beautiful. But I think that story rightfully belongs to Satyabhama and not to Rukmini, because journey there belongs to Satyabhama. Rukmini starts the way she is and ends the way she is. But that's not exactly the high point of Rukmini. That's one of her qualities, but that's not exactly what I feel is the high point of Rukmini. That's her realized form, but the special what I really love about Rukmini, let me not call it the best, because everybody who sees the story has their own interpretation of it, but what I feel is the characteristic that escapes a lot of popular mentions is that she's not an ornamental heroine. She is a game changer. So what used to happen before Rukmini made that choice is that marriages had become these kind of political tools for the girls' brothers or the grooms to simply strengthen themselves, their kingdoms, and the guy who was trying to engineer these alliances was Jarasandha, who was the king of Magadha. And it's also important to notice that the power in the northern India was the most fertile region then at that time. So the land was divided between the Kurus, the Panchalas. The Kurus are, were Pandavas and Kauravas, their ancestors. The Panchalas, that's Draupadi's family, and Magadha. Both these all the three of these had access to river Ganga, which means they had very fertile lands with them, which means that all of them are prosperous. So as long as two people did not unite against the third, it was balanced. But the minute two people combine against the third, the power starts, there is some kind of imbalance will happen. Whether it's good or bad is a different. So Jarasandha, he tried to get more powerful by making other kings who did not have access to these Gangetic plain lands. He tried to get them to his side by engineering all these politically motivated alliances. So Shishupala, that's a small kingdom, Chedi. And Rukmini, Vidarbha, that's a large kingdom, but doesn't have a lot of access to rivers. But, once they enter into an alliance, he could support them in some way, because of which their armies start counting as his. That's his, political brain. And he was doing it like for two whole generations. So with Rukmini's, rebellion, rather very successful rebellion, the minute she eloped with Krishna, the whole story of Jarasandha started changing. He stopped being that power maker, king maker kind of thing. After that, a lot of princesses, they eloped with, some of them with Krishna himself, others with, princes of their choice. So he stopped having that relevance. So she is the first break for she put the brake on the ride of adharma that he had. So that way, she is a game changer, and most of us don't recognize that contribution of Rukmini to the power politics happening in ancient India. So that's what that fascinated me, because that requires a lot of knowledge and application of that knowledge on part of Rukmini and in her hostile situation, right? So
That's really
that's what.
fascinating. Yes, that's truly very fascinating to know about her. So we all have known Rukmini as a consort of Krishna, and lesser known facts about her personality certainly did exist, but traditional narratives tend to overpower her husband's charismatic personality over hers. What kind of challenges did you face while you were writing about Rukmini as a protagonist of the book?
So more than challenges, I would say this was a nice exercise, as I could imagine a lot of things. So we feel that Krishna's story, eclipses Rukmini's story basically because the macro plot here starts focusing on the story of Pandavas, and Krishna played a huge role in the rise of the Pandavas, and even after that. But what has been happening, if we try to imagine the life at Dwaraka in the absence of Krishna, and Dwaraka is not a very simple place. It's a Yadavas are a republican system, so they have these powerful households who may command over segments of land or army or something, and they work like a republic. So they have a representative in their court, and or representatives, and they debate. So it's like a very preliminary form of our democratic system. So it's not I mean, it's not a simple place to manage in monarchical system. Whatever the pressures as well as pleasures will be the king's. This one, but it's not like that in a republican system. And who could have held the fort of Krishna in his absence? That made me look at Rukmini in a newer light, because Revati, it was Revati's land on which Dwaraka was built. It was her inheritance, actually. And she belonged to Satya Yuga, in according to the scriptures. So, and people of Satya Yuga wouldn't be that politically conscious, or we have learned that dharma is has four legs in Satya Yuga, basically. So I don't see Revati, Balarama's wife, as a crafty woman, or who can see through you know the political games. I imagine her to be a very sattvic and very peaceful lady. So Krishna's family needed that powerful voice, which works in his absence. And Rukmini struck me because she was a game changer, and a lot of princesses took her inspiration. And then she was friendly with princesses like Draupadi, who went on to become great queens. So her position was a powerful position from her own, not just as wife of Krishna, but from her own merit. Her influence was something very strong. So I don't call it exactly a challenge, but it was it was an experience trying to unravel these things parallel to the story of Mahabharata.
Certainly. So we also observe that there's this beautiful harmony between your storytelling and the original scriptures. You have weaved certain nuances in the mental, spiritual evolution of Rukmini in various episodes of her life. So what was this creative process like?
So basically, in a novel, right? Leave out Rukmini. I am sharing this part because I know that a lot of aspiring writers would be watching our interaction. So, a novel story is Are we online?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
can hear you.
So, he or she starts off at a point with a set of beliefs, and, they start, then the world starts responding to their beliefs. Some conflicts are there, then there is an antagonist, and the whole journey of that conflict transforms the author, the protagonist. Of course, it does transform the author, but yeah, the protagonist. So, in Rukmini's case, the not just Rukmini, but the challenge when we take up any story based on the scriptures, Hindu scriptures especially, is that while there is a lot of adventure and spirituality, the guiding principles remain the same. So the journey has to be weaved accordingly. It's not like, the person totally changing, but that arc of transformation has to be visible, right? The person doesn't become bad from good or good from bad or something like that, but it's actually growth. So that journey of growth has to be visible, which is why alongside Krishna, I looked at Rukmini as evolving from a princess, or just like what she may think that she was a normal princess, to actually a goddess. So from as a human, when we start evolving, firstly we look at all as a human, are we putting our best? So once a human starts putting his or her best and he achieves that excellence, that pinnacle, newer planes open up, right? They tap into the energies or whatever potential that was earlier not visible, and the transformation starts. So here Rukmini started being very rebellious, angry, feisty, with a very strong set of ideals that she stood up for, and she's very clear about what she stands against, and she gives her best into it, and she gets Krishna. But then what is life after she is with Krishna? Because attaining something as is exciting, though it is hard, it's really exciting, but maintaining something is harder, because there will be a lot of emotional turmoil there in just maintaining what you have, and in sharing Krishna with other women, and the whole political trauma, the whole political vortex that was happening in the northern India, right? And Rukmini, never for a moment she's told Krishna as to, why do you want to get into all that mess? Let them fight amongst themselves, and see, we are happy at Dwaraka, we do sea trade, let's just mind our kingdom. So she never told that to Krishna, right? There is never a exchange of that nature in Mahabharata. Actually, there is a similar exchange in the Ramayana where Sita tries to talk Rama out of going into direct conflict with the Rakshasas, and then the story takes a new turn. So she herself becomes the reason for for a direct conflict. But there's never such a dialogue between Rukmini and Krishna where she tries to stop Krishna from testing his own limits.
Right.
So that is that made me look at her in a different light. She is not that that safety seeking woman. She is also a woman who respects adventure.
That's true. So, while the book, narrates and molds the character of Rukmini, in the backdrop, as you were, already talking about it, there is a volatile political situation of Bharatvarsh. So, please tell your reason for intricately adding these political scenarios.
So again, no kingdom is can be isolated. No kingdom can be in a blissful isolation. So every country today, we are seeing COVID rise in the West, and we know it's just a month away or 2 months away from hitting us. And two of our neighbors are in a bad financial condition, and we know that we can't exactly sit quietly. right? And there's a conflict happening in totally in another hemisphere, and there is so much pressure on us to react to it and not stay neutral. Though I personally feel we should stay neutral. But and think about kingdoms that are connected, like ancient India with its 16 kingdoms. The conflict between two kingdoms is bound to blow up, because two kingdoms, their marital allies, these people's marital allies, some friends, enemies, and then other kingdoms trying, having similar conflicts, taking their sides. That's what blew up into such a large scale war like the Kurukshetra. So none of the Dwaraka, at least it cannot stay independent or isolated from the whole story that is happening, and which is why Krishna took that wise decision to play an active part in the struggle between the Kuru family, or trying to control the Magadhas, or trying to bring in the support of the Panchalas, or whatever it is. Krishna played that active role, and that had to be seen. That wouldn't come without repercussions, because we know that Yadavas are a divided stand. Krishna had two cousins, Satyaki, Kritavarma. Satyaki chose to fight on the Pandava side, and Kritavarma chose to support Duryodhana there. So that itself, tells us that the Yadava politics is not simple. And there is a very unique, this one characteristic of the Yadava Sabha, the Sudharma, that women used to, voice their opinions very freely there. That comes as one of the descriptive lines when Sudharma is being described. Not that women don't have a voice in the other sabhas, but when there is a monarch taking your decisions, the best that a woman can do, whether the queen may give her advice, and some woman seeking justice may just question the king, but this a voice opining everything, that is something which is a unique feature of the Yadavas, which I thought should be highlighted, because it never gets the attention that it's supposed to get. And there is a lot of debate, there is a lot of turmoil, decisions are taken in spite, or with all those factored in, right? You can't make everybody happy. You have to go ahead with a decision that maybe brings the maximum this thing. So it's not like Krishna's word used to reign every time, right? So if you have read Rukmini, you would see that it was tough for Krishna as well, and tough for Rukmini as well, to always keep their word reigning. It has to be like other Yadava leaders, they were strong opiners as well. So that whole churn needed a platform, I guess. So nobody highlighted that. We talk a lot about Kuru Sabha, the dice game, and how it whole unfolded. But just parallel to the Kuru Sabha, where they could try and disrobe a queen herself, parallel to that is the Sudharma Sabha, where women used to be so free in raising their concerns or giving their opinions and the decision making, which is why I chose to focus on that part.
That's amazing. So, also you have depicted the characters of Rukmini and even Krishna in a very humanistic way, rather than a larger-than-life portrayal of god and goddess. So, this thing actually made it very relatable and easy to connect to. What was this kind of depiction intentional for you?
Yes, intentional, yes. Not because I deny the signs of divinity, but when I write the story, I imagine myself as somebody, noting down stuff or carrying a camera when, the story is actually happening. So I can write what I can visualize. And gods, be it Krishna, be it Lord Shiva, or any gods, they are not just there to give a magic show for us, right? They are there to teach us something. which is why, to be very honest, I could write what I could see in that plane. So, which is why I stuck to the physically you know realistic kind of portraying. Not that there is I mean, there are suggestions of divine play, but it's not like the it's not the, what do you say, it's not in my control to visualize that. It is something which has to come from there.
All right. So it's actually so beautifully depicted that whoever reads it, like you were that you connect to it, we also as readers would certainly connect to it, whoever reads it. So at the last, I would like to ask you that how was your publishing journey with Rupa Publications? How was the editorial experience like, and what kind of value did such kind of intervention add to your work?
So, thank you for those kind words. I'm so glad you could connect, because that was the whole, inspiration to write the stories. They don't mean much if the readers cannot connect. Right, so we start connecting to our heroes, we start becoming better people than we were before, and that's the whole purpose of writing any book, for that matter. So it feels really, really fulfilling to hear that from you, Haimanti. And yes, my journey with Rupa has been great. I have written 2 books with them, and I'm writing my third. The first book was Draupadi, second was Rukmini, third would be a non-fiction that's comparing Bhishma's statecraft, that is the Anushasana Parva and Rajdharma Parva in Mahabharata, with Kautilya's Arthashastra, where there is scope for interesting comparison between them. So, with Rupa, I would say the advantages are the topics that we come up with and churn. That those are very consciously selected for their content, as well as the readiness of the market, the readers for that. I think their Rupa is somewhat before others. It's ahead of other publishers. It's just my feeling, because just it works. What we write for them totally works, and so and editorial. So I'll just quickly talk about the process. So once we decide on the topic, I forward them a proposal which has a short synopsis of the book, and mainly why I am writing this book. With if it's a non-fiction, we submit a table of contents which can change, but a broad content map of the book, and broad chapter layout if that is possible. And yeah, that's all. I mean, then they are very quick in coming back. Even that I have to, I have to appreciate them. And then the onus falls on me about writing the manuscript and submitting the manuscript to them, and then the editorial team starts working, and it's a very smooth process. And I don't think even other publishers, I don't think authors have complaints about editing with other publishers also. But whoever are the editors that I've worked with, in Rupa, Prerna, Kumar, and I just, that's so bad of me to forget the names. But yes, it's been a very nice experience. There's almost no conflict. They just know how to, tweak the sentences just to get the best expression that you had meant as an author. So there, the manuscript goes to and fro with the whole, and then we launch it to the market. And yes, cover design is something which I would like to compliment Rupa again. They come up with really eye-catchy covers, and even at marketing, the support has been great.
Okay, so that's really inspiring to hear about your book journey and your publishing journey with Rupa. And also, I'm looking forward for your next book. So thank you, Saiswaroopa ma'am, for a very insightful conversation and for your time this evening.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Haimanti, and thanks a lot to Coral. I think this initiative is wonderful. I hope to see many future writers come up, through these programs, and I'm looking forward for more interactions on Tell Me Your Story program.
Thank you so much.